from Soloway to Ross Funeral Home, Temple Funeral Home, Carbon Realty, Jabon's, Eugene Hair Connections, M&W Welding Company, Ancient Thread, Ruby's Morning Star Nursery, Sir Charles the Tailor, and Crowley. Now, I'm going to give you Crowley's number because if some of you decide you're going to get drunk tonight and go to jail, you need a bondsman. Don't call me now because I'm telling you. 427-3539. Those of you that plan to steal something tonight, you call to get out of jail, call Crawley, 427-3539. But my advice to you would be to stay out of jail. Eugene's Hair Connection, which consists of Red, Gibbert, Anthony, Mark, Sam, and Loretta, all say Happy New Year's to you. Today, I've invited two of my former students to come here because I needed their strength, I needed their faith, and I know you would be very pleased to know about two young men that are certainly making a contribution to society. The first one that I will introduce to you is a young man that I taught at John Marshall High School and who is now the youth minister of the Trinity Missionary Baptist Church in Pontiac, Michigan. His name is Stephen D. Billingsley. Ladies and gentlemen, a special New Year's message from Stephen.
Good morning. We've heard that Eleanor Roosevelt tore down the myth that blacks could not succeed, that blacks could not fly planes. Keep in mind that you can make it if you want to and if you try. Paul warned young Timothy to keep away from godless and silly myths. He warned young Timothy that if you stay away from ungodly influences, you can be successful. In so many words, what Paul is simply saying to Timothy, Paul is saying to us today, if we keep away from the myths that you cannot be somebody, if we will keep away from the mythical thinking that your handicaps will keep you hindered. For example, Miss America, a young lady who had deafness in one ear, but she made it in spite of her handicap. If you will reach down within those capacities that God has given you and ask God for the strength that you need to be somebody and to make it, you can be successful if you will put your mind and your heart into what you are doing. You don't have to be afraid to try. You don't have to be afraid of hindrances. Yes, you have to be careful. Yes, you have to think. Yes, you have to pursue. Yes, you have to be committed. Yes, you have to be determined. However, you don't have to stop because you don't have everything working in your favor just because it seems as though there are barricades that are insurmountable. If you want to succeed and you put your mind to it and trust in the Lord with all of your heart, lean not to your own understanding, the Lord will make a way for you somehow. You have to continue to trust in God, and at the same time trusting, you have to put some legs on your prayers. You can't just sit and expect for things to happen for you unless you are willing to work for yourself. For the Bible reminds us that God will help those who will help themselves. As we enter into a new year, 1995, many persons have said that the holiday season can be one of the most tragic seasons in the country. And that can be true. For example, we've watched the news and we've seen various events where persons have been harmed, persons have been killed, but yet remember that Christ is still alive. So many times we focus on the negative. We focus on the death rates. We focus on the infant mortalities, and we focus on the drug abuse, and we focus on a larger percentage of young people who are killing themselves and shooting each other over tennis shoes and clothing and pride and self-esteem because they feel as though they've been insulted. So the only way they know how to answer a problem is with a gun. But you don't have to kill anybody to show anyone who you are. Just go on and be. You don't have to be afraid of persons' faces like young Jeremiah. Just go on and be something. Go on and decide that you want to defy the odds and do it through your living, not through your killing. Go on and defy the odds and do it through your example and not with words that will crucify and hurt other lives that come across your pathway. If you really want to be something, stay away from the myth that you need to use a gun to answer a problem. Stay away from the mythical thinking that you have to step on others in order to be tall. If you want to be something, simply put your mind to it and ask the Lord to open the door for you. Again, I remind you of that scripture. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not to your own understanding.
Thank you, Reverend Stephen D. Billingsley, who came out of the St. John Baptist Church here in Oklahoma City, a graduate of Dungy High School. No, that was your aunts and uncles and your grandfather. Your father graduated from Dungy High School, James Billingsley, and certainly I've enjoyed your message. And today, Petite Salon and Closed Closet would like to wish each one of you a Happy New Year. They are located at 1917 Northeast 24th Street. Happy New Year to you wherever you are. Scales Restaurant, United Drugs, Solid Ways, Roth Funeral Home, Temple Funeral Home, Carbon Realty, Javon's, Eugene Hair Connections, M&W Welding Company, Ancient Thread, Ruby and Jim, Sir Charles Taylor, and Crawley. Wish for each one of you a Happy New Year. Mrs. Stale would like to invite you to Stale's Restaurant, 1100 Northeast 23rd, where you can still get that good old soul food. And now for our spiritual message today. Reverend Ernest Jackson Jr., the pastor of the St. Paul United Methodist Church in Anadarko, Oklahoma. Reverend Jackson.
Good morning, Mrs. Luper, and to the listening audience. I would like to thank Mrs. Clara Luper for giving me the opportunity to say a word, and I have known Ms. Luper for a long time. Mrs. Luper is one of those school teachers who made a significant contribution in my life. I just want to say thanks to her. Now let us turn to the gospel as it is according to St. Matthew, the 25th chapter, the 31st and 32nd verse. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, and then he will sit on the throne of the glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together. We're grateful for these members and for these minds and certainly for this radio ministry. And now we give thanks to you. Let us all say amen. If I could use one exegetical statement this morning about this pericope, I would say that Jesus is judging the nations, including Israel. Moreover, one could say that this judgment is just to determine what one has done in his or her life to lift up the name of Jesus. What one has done will determine whether one will be placed on the right side of Jesus or on the left. Because my Bible says to me that Jesus separates the sheep from the goats, which reminds me of a story of two men that were traveling across town, and they approached a particular car, baggage passenger car on the train, and the conductor told them to sit in a particular car, and they sat in another car, and the conductor said, "Now, men, you'll need to move and get into this other car." They moved into the car that the conductor told them not to get in. He said, "You need to move into this car because the car you're sitting in is not hooked up to anything." So I say to us this morning, are we hooked up to a God that tells us about how we can get ourselves ready for 95? As we look at the scripture, I am reminded of how Jesus is separating the sheep from the goats. And I'm not here this morning to inquire about the history of your lives. I have come today to say to you that if God allows us to arrive on the edge of 95, we should all plan to serve God effectively. I don't need a title, but if I had to have one this morning, I would say, how do I stay alive in 95? How do I get revived in 95? And I'll just say to you that there are 5 acronyms that represent the word serve, because if this pericope says anything, it says something about servanthood. If I could use the first letter S, S means sacrificially, which says to us God should be first in our lives. God's cause and kingdom must come before us. It should come before ease. It should come before pleasure. It should come before personal gain. It should come before all others. In other words, seek God first and his righteousness, and everything else will be added. The second acronym is E for energetically. We should continue to give God's work priority. What we do for God counts most in this life and the world to come. John 6:27. We ought to be excited about serving God because God serves us with his son Jesus. Thirdly, the acronym R means routinely. Routinely, we ought to be dependable, not undependable. Sometimes we're undependable about our service for God. Sometimes we hit and miss. To be effective, we must serve God routinely, even when the odds are against us. And the fourth acronym represents uh, B, voluntarily. We must continue to be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate. 1 Timothy 6 and 18. We should not wait to be forced into service. We should give our service to God willingly. And certainly, last but not least, the acronym E represents enjoyably. We should serve the Lord with gladness. Psalms 102. We should count it a privilege to serve the Lord, and we should look forward to it. But what's the best of all of I can say to you this morning, God served us with his son just a few days ago. And my brothers and sisters, I say to you this morning that as you arrive on the shores of 1995, if you have the privilege to serve, you ought to serve. Somebody said, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Let us pray. Gracious God, we come now to serve you and not to serve you begrudgingly, but to serve you willingly. Now we ask that you help us to arrive in 95 if it be thy will. This we ask in your name. Amen.
We've heard the words. We've heard the words from two of our outstanding ministers. Reverend Stephen D. Billingsley from Pontiac, Michigan, Pastor Ernest Jackson Jr. from Anadarko, Oklahoma. You have heard the word. This portion of our program was brought to you by Marilyn Hildred, your Allstate insurance agent. Marilyn would like to thank you for your support in 94. Because of you, she was able to be the number one Allstate insurance agent in the state of Oklahoma and in her region. Marilyn would like to say thank you, and we will be hearing from her before this program is over. We would also like to thank you for your support in 1994. You've been very kind to us. The following part of our program is being brought to you by CP's Catfish Cafe, by Miss Black Oklahoma, by the Soul Bazaar, because you have been our supporters. You were there when we started 25 years ago, and you were there in 1994, and we would like to thank you. I would rather have one little rose from the garden of a friend than to have the choicest flowers when my stay on earth must end. I would rather have a loving smile from friends I know are true than tears shed around my casket when to this world I say goodbye. So I would like to take this opportunity to say thanks. Because I made many mistakes in 1994, but I've never made the mistake of not being grateful to those of you that have listened to me. I would like to thank you for your many Christmas cards. I wish I could return all of them, but I'm not able to do it. I would really love to. And Minnie Johnson, you and your lovely daughter Ebony, along with others, have always remembered me on Christmas. Thank you so much for your Christmas gifts. Not only to you, Minnie, not only to you, Rosie Lee, but to all of you that took time out and remembered me. And certainly I would like to thank my students from all over the world that have given me a call, a gift, or a Christmas present. And for you, Floyd Tillman, who's now in your office in Los Angeles, California, where you're at the top in your profession. I would like to thank you for that 15-minute telephone call on Christmas Day. Thank you, Joe Hill, out in Saipan. I really appreciate you and what you have done for me. You young people have given me something that money cannot buy. You've given me hope. I have someone on the line. Hello? Hello? I hope I have my connections great. Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Well, that's my daughter, Shelley. Hello, how are you this morning, Shelley?
I'm fine. And you?
Huh?
And you?
Oh, I am fine after spending a day with you yesterday.
Yes. So is there anything?
Yes, there's something special that I would like to say to you publicly. I would like to congratulate you for finishing Langston University, completing all of your work, and most of all, I would like to congratulate you for your new job, and I want you to tell us about it.
I'll be moving to Dallas next week to start my new job with Proline Corporation as assistant to the Director of Marketing and Advertising for the company.
Now, what company is that?
Proline Corporation.
And you will be what now?
Assistant to the Director of Marketing and Advertising.
I know as we were talking, you were saying how much you owe to so many people. Would you take this opportunity to thank all of those people for what they have done for you? Because you've been very fortunate.
I would like to thank everyone who has helped me throughout the years and been so supportive of me and everything that I have accomplished because it was because of your support that made everything possible.
I know that as you go to Texas, we lose another one to Texas. We have lost so many to Texas, and yesterday while we were in Texas, the first person we ran into was a beautiful young lady that lived on the corner of Woods and 42nd, one of those Robertson young ladies who has a very important job. They're managing in management in Texas. Now, when you go to Texas, are you going to remember those of us in Oklahoma?
Of course.
Huh?
Of course.
Okay, well, thank you so very kindly, Shelley, and I know that you have had surgery, and you're doing fine, right?
Right.
Okay, bye-bye. No
Bye.
serious surgery, but Shelley would like to thank all of you. Okay, I'm expecting a call from Merlin and Calvin, because I know they, too, would like to join in this special thank you. You know, the worst thing in the world is ingratitude. As long as you can be thankful, I think you are something, and I'm just thankful. Many of you have called me and asked me what was I going to say about J.C. Watts. I tell you what I'm going to say, nothing. Many of you have called me today about Shirley firing 11 people, and you want to know what I'm going to say, nothing. So many times we talk without all of the information, and certainly when I talk, I want to make sure I have the proper information. And without the proper information, I'm going to do what you should do. Close my mouth and go on about my business. This is the Clara Luper radio show. I would like to say Happy New Year to all the people from Hoffman, Oklahoma. All of you Hoffmanites, Happy New Year's. Tomorrow we will be celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation. Once again, those people that will remember will be at the Greater Loving St. James Baptist Church in Spencer, which Reverend W.B. Parker is pastor. At 3:30 on Sunday, Reverend Evans of the Faith Memorial Church will deliver the message, and I urge you to be there because it's a day of remembrance. And if you can remember the 4th of July, that Frederick Douglass said was not for black people because the writer of the Declaration of Independence was a slave owner. But you can remember the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed 4.5 million blacks. Reverend Fred Elkins and his family would like to thank you for remembering him during the death of his mother. Johnny Jones remembered Freedom Center and contributed $100 to finishing the job of putting those bricks on the wall. Not only that, she went out of town and brought back a beautiful picture of Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, and Johnny F. Kennedy that will be a part of the history of Freedom Center. And we would like to thank all of you that have visited Freedom Center during the holidays. We would certainly like to thank the guys, We would like to thank Dwight and his brother who came in here from Dwight. It works down in Shawnee. His brother works in San Antonio, Texas. We thank them as they stood and looked at Freedom Center with its Black History walls and with its Black History monument. And we would invite all of you to become a part of your own history. Because if you don't care about your history, who do you think will? I've had the opportunity to speak to all kind of groups, and the first thing they ask me is about my history, and I ask them about their history. Because I've told them that white folks are afraid of black folks. That's why they didn't want the slaves to learn how to read. Because once you learn how to read, you become dangerous. They didn't want them to learn how to fly, but we have witnesses here today that they did fly. We have people that don't want us to learn, and young people, you don't come telling me about what you can't do, because all things are possible if you put forth the effort. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show. Yes?
Good morning. This is Marilyn Hildred, and I'm just calling in this morning to say thanks to your radio listening audience. Hello to you and my family, and to say a special thanks to you. And as I listened to the minister a few minutes ago, I'm going to try to survive in 95. I'm very excited about entering the new year.
Merlin, I appreciate that, because if it's anybody in this town should be grateful, it's you. These people have been very, very kind to you through the years. And tell us where your office is located.
At 730 West Britain Road, right off the Broadway extension, and my telephone number there is 843-0811. And I appreciate your business. I appreciate your radio listening audience coming out to the office buying insurance. Special hello to Mr. Robert Gates. I appreciate him so much and what he's done to help people as small as I am. And I just want to say thanks, a special thanks.
I really appreciate that, Marilyn, because as long as you're grateful, you're going to prosper. And I would like to wish you the best in 95. Do you think you would be at the top in insurance in 95?
Give it all I have.
I had somebody tell me they were really praying for you. Say, oh, I'm praying for Marilyn. I say, you're praying for? Have you taken out any insurance? Oh, no, I have my insurance with somebody I've had for 30 years. I said, do you know that 30 years ago, black people couldn't sell insurance like Marilyn is selling? Well, anyway, Marilyn, I would like to wish you a happy New Year's. And may 1995 be your best year.
I'm looking forward to it because I'm determined if I made it through 94, I know I can still alive in 95.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn, for
Bye-bye.
your thank you. I'm expecting Calvin to call me, and then I can say my whole family, all my children called. I've heard from Shelley, I've heard from Marilyn, and now I have about 4 minutes late, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Calvin. Hello?
Hello. Your wish has come true, but not like mine has come true during the past year. And I just wanted to say thank you, Mom. I want to say thank you to the KTLV staff. And I especially want to say thanks to what I affectionately call the most intelligent listening audience in the world. And that's the audience that listens to the Clara Luper radio show every Saturday morning and enjoy it. You know, we've been very blessed this past year in all of our endeavors, from the Miss Black Oklahoma, the Miss Black Oklahoma City, the Soul Bazaar, the CP's Catfish. Just all of our endeavors have been extremely successful. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, and heard Merlin say her thank you, and I heard Shelley say hers, and I heard the minister say survive in 95. And I want you and the community to know that 95, with us working together, not only will we survive, but we will make this city and this state a much better place. And I just want to top it off by saying thanks, Mom.
Thank you, Calvin, and I'm really happy. And ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from my pride, my joy, my kids. You've heard Shelley say thank you. You've heard Merlin say thank you, and you've heard Calvin say thank you. And certainly, I want you to know that the Lupers, Shelley, Merlin, Calvin, know that you are responsible for our success. And although I received over 460 awards, every award I've seen, I have received, I have said I accept this on behalf of the people that have made it possible, because you have made it possible for us to survive. Mrs. Hunter has asked me to tell you that she's not here, because as you know, her husband is in the hospital. And those of you that would like to send cards and things, you may send it to the Veterans Hospital or you may send it to their home. Hello? I think I have someone else that I would certainly like to get in.
Mrs. Luper,
Yes,
this is Sandra
yes.
Mitchell, and I was calling you. You're thanking everyone. I want to thank you for the many, many years of being a surrogate mother to me, and I love you so much. And thank you so much. It's
Thank you
many
so
years.
much. I want all my flowers while I live. I want to hear my songs while my ears are still functioning. I want to hear you. And I'm very serious now. Because as we come to the close of 1994, I would like to thank God for the opportunities that he has given us as a people. And tomorrow as we celebrate the Emancipation Proclamation, may we continue to remind our children that life has not been an easy thing for us. And that's why we are going to survive. Somebody asked me how was I going to get along with the Republicans, and I quoted, "We have no permanent political parties. We have no permanent friends. We only have permanent interests. And to you Republicans, move over because you got to give us a place." And it was a Republican that appointed me on the board for teachers' retirement, and I served with dignity for one day and then was fired. This is the Clara Luper radio show. This is a show that you cannot afford to miss, and I ask you to be with me next week because next week we will have dignified as we had today. We will have people that have been places and have seen things. And on behalf of all of us here, let's say it together. All of us. Happy
Happy
New
New
Year's.
Year.
Bye-bye.
This is AM 1220, KTLV, Midwest City, Oklahoma City.
Reverend Vernon Burris and the Christ Community Baptist Church cordially invite you to worship and share with them the Christian experience of love. The church is located at 5400 South Byers, and the doors are open and inviting you to service. On Sunday morning, Sunday school, beginning at 9:30 a.m., followed by worship service at 11 a.m., with prayer meeting and Bible study every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. A new beginning, a new fellowship at the Christ Community Baptist Church, 5400 South Byers, here in Oklahoma City, where the pastor is Reverend Vernon Burris. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. A Brotherhood Unity Prayer Vigil is being planned for the men of Oklahoma City.
This is AM 1220, KTLV, Midwest City, Oklahoma City.
The following is a paid program. The views and opinions expressed or products endorsed are not necessarily those of KTLV, its staff, or management.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy good morning to you wherever you are. This is the Clara Luper radio show. It is the best. It is the best. This is the best. The Clara Luper radio show. And today's show is being made possible by your All-State Independent Agent, Merlin Hildreth. Merlin is located 730 Britton Avenue in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Her telephone number is 843-8011. Now, those of you that need some insurance, it doesn't make any difference what kind we're talking about, automobile, home. All you have to do is to call Marilyn. You may also call at home, 427-8399. I would like for you to call her and thank her for making this program possible, because without the sponsors, you would never hear the Clara Luper radio show. I have a show today that you will be talking about in years to come. You will be talking about the experience that you had on New Year's Eve. On New Year's Eve, you will have the experience of a lifetime. You will have it today. Mr. Gates at Gates Barbershop, located at 2609 North Martin Luther King Avenue, would like to wish for each one of you a Happy New Year. Not only that, Mr. Gates would like to thank you because you have been with him in 1994, and he is sure that you will be with him in 1995. Every time I put on my glasses, I think of Dr. A.L. Dow, my optometrist. Dr. A.L. Dow is located at 934 Northeast 8th Street in Oklahoma City. His telephone number is 235-0536. Once again, Dr. Dow's telephone number is 235-0536. I cannot help but talk about this program today. You have never in your life, never heard anything like the Clara Luper radio show today. It's going to be something to remember. It's going to be something that you will be thinking about the rest of your life, because it's different, it's exciting, it's educational, it's spiritually. It's the Clara Luper radio show. Say, I gave out 700 pounds of chitlins. 700 pounds of chitlins. And not a one of you chitlin people invited me over to dinner. 700 pounds of chitlins. Now, if you didn't pick up your slip for your chitlins, it's too late now, because the chitlin race has ended. And you asked me to please tell you what did I do for Christmas? Well, my family came over for dinner. There were 38 of them. I went to a lot of trouble and prepared a mincemeat pie. Oh, it was a beautiful pie. I had minced meat, and then I said, I'm going to add something different. I added pecans, and it was a tender brown. It was something. And those shepherds, Browns, Richard Brown, the big educator, Onita Brown, Betty Germany, all of my family, not a one of them took a slice of my mincemeat pecan pie. And I think that was very, very rude. My husband felt sorry for me, and he finally cut a slice, and I don't know what he did with it. But when I made my mincemeat pecan pie, I knew my family would really be proud of me. But they are traditionalists. They got to have, pass the sweet potato pie. Pass the sweet potato pie. I want sweet potato pie. I want peach cobbler. And they didn't want my mincemeat pecan pie. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and this portion of our show is brought to you by Johnson Shadina's Preschool and Nursery, located here in Oklahoma City. Located at 1643 Northeast of 50th Street in Oklahoma City. The telephone number is 424-4656. Now, if you need night service, or if you need 6-day-a-week service, you may call Johnson Shadina's Preschool and Nursery, located right here in Oklahoma City. The telephone number is 5274. Let me repeat that. 427-5274. The owners are Paul and Gloria Matthews, who flew down to Houston for the Christmas holidays and who had a good time. This is New Year's Eve, and this is your program. You want to know who I have here today. I'm not going to tell you now, but I'm going to tell you to stay tuned to the Clara Luper radio show. Miss Black America has been busy, and certainly she will be busier as the weeks go on. I would like to thank all of you that are sending invitations for her appearance, and we will do the best we can. I would also like to thank Governor Walters for that beautiful proclamation declaring a special day for Miss Black America, Karen Wallace. I want you to know that the tickets for Miss Black Oklahoma and Miss Black Oklahoma City are now on sale, and you may call me at 424-3949. This is very important because this year, because of the popularity of Miss Black America and Miss Black Oklahoma, we will not have all the seats that we would like to available. The Miss Black Oklahoma City pageant will be held on March 4th, 1995 at the Clarion Hotel. The tickets for that event are $10. Those of you that want to attend the state this year, it's June 24th, and you may pick up your tickets now. They are $20, and it's semi-formal. It will also be televised. If we think about the new year, we think about new experiences and what we are doing and what we are going to do. What are you doing next year? You'll be celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday on the 15th. Well, great. That would be a great march, but I have not gotten all the details about the march, so I'll have them next week and we'll pass them on to you. The thing that we're concerned with is what happens after the march. After we finish marching in memory of Martin Luther King, what do we do? What happens next? For the past weeks, I've been from California to Tennessee to Texas, and I've seen many of our people that are really progressing, and I don't want you to think that things are just so bad with us and we aren't doing. I want you to travel and see what's happening. It might be bad with you because you could be too lazy to get up and do something. That was for you, Lola. Today is a very important day because it's the day before the first of the year. And today's program is very exciting, and I have invited, as I told you before, Miss Gloria Hall to come and share these moments with me. Gloria, how are you today?
Doing fine, Mrs. Luper. How are you?
I am really fine, and I told you I'm not going to complain. Gloria, I understand that an important event took place, I think it was last year in Oklahoma.
Yes.
When a group of people got together and did what?
Last year, a group of people in Oklahoma, very concerned citizens, came together and formed what is now known as the Charles B. Hall chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, one of many throughout the United States.
Charles B. Hall. Who is Charles B. Hall? Who was Charles B. Hall?
Well, I have a lot of information on him, but I'd like to present Mr. John Howard to give us the details on Mr. Hall. Mr. Howard?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Lucan. Charles B. Hall was one of the early pioneers of the flying game, and he was a part of the 332nd, which was in Europe, and he happens to be the first black to shoot down an aircraft.
All right. Now, let me go back over now, Mr. Howard. You're saying that Charles B. Hall was... Who was Charles B. Hall?
Charles B. Hall was one of the members of the experiment at Tuskegee. Once graduated, then he went to war in Italy with the rest of the troops. And during their processes of combat, he became the first black pilot to shoot down a German aircraft.
All right, and now you are saying that he was one of those from Tuskegee, Alabama?
That is correct.
Okay. Was it true that before this unit was organized in Tuskegee, blacks were not allowed in the Air Force?
That is correct. It was assumed by the white comrades that blacks could not fly.
It was assumed by the whites that blacks could not fly in the air.
That's right.
Is that true?
That is true.
They assumed that through World War I that blacks could not fly.
That is correct.
Okay, how did we go about getting a unit in Tuskegee?
That came about as a result of a number of our black organizations, NAACP, as well as a number of the others, urban leagues, and they were putting pressure in the Congress also to allow blacks to enter the Air Force. This didn't happen all of a sudden. It was a very slow process, and later on it was a situation where Mrs. Roosevelt herself was in the Tuskegee area, and she went up with who was then our first instructor, black pilot, Mr. Anderson, and she came back and told Mr. Roosevelt, President Roosevelt, blacks can fly.
You're saying to me that it took Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, to tell this nation that blacks could fly a plane?
Not exactly tell them that they could fly a plane, but she certainly took out the myth that they could not fly. And by bringing that information back to Mr. Roosevelt, it did not take long before the Tuskegee experiment was in operation.
Okay, you keep saying the Tuskegee experiment. What do you mean?
This was an experiment by by essentially the U.S. government, the War Department. It was an experiment to see if blacks could fly. And so that was the beginning of the Tuskegee experiment as it was known then. We now like to refer to it as the Tuskegee experience, in that there was another Tuskegee experiment associated with medicine.
As I look at a period of history, it's amazing to find out how educated whites were and how dumb they were. Because here's people that came to this country and helped to build this country, and then they are arguing whether they can fly. Not only can we fly, we can fix that plane. And I have a young man on the air that fixed those planes. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
How are you, Mrs. Luper?
Well, I'm not complaining today because
Yes.
the world is mine. The world is mine.
Okay.
Are you really the real mechanic?
I am the real mechanic. I served with the Tuskegee Airmen in Italy during World War II, and I served as an aircraft mechanic along with about another 200 or so other mechanics from various specialties, sheet metal, propellers, instruments, hydraulics, and whatever. And we kept those planes up in the air.
Okay. You kept the planes up in the air. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, tell me how you got to be a part of the experiment.
Well, it was kind of a funny way. I was an aircraft mechanic before I went into the service. During World War II, they had a special training program, and I joined that program and learned how to be a hydraulic specialist was my official title. Then, as the war proceeded, I was drafted. I was a civilian, and then I was drafted into the military, and through a fluke of some kind, I ended up in Fort Dix, New Jersey, walking around and never was assigned to any unit.
Are you saying to me, here you are, a mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
you were in the Air Force,
Yes.
and you were walking around doing what?
Picking up cigarette butts in Fort Dix, New Jersey, because they didn't know what to do with me.
Okay.
So what I did was, after some frustration, I wrote a letter to President Roosevelt. I wasn't aware that this was a big no-no, that you cannot, as a buck private, write a letter to the President of the United States. But I wrote one anyhow, and I explained to the President that I was a trained aircraft mechanic and wanted to contribute and do my part to help win the war. And I would say in less than a week's time, I got called into the orderly room, and an officer, I can't recall his name now, promptly bawled me out for having written the letter and said, "We're going to cut some orders for you and send you right out of here right now to Rome, New York," which was the where I was working when I was a civilian. And so they did cut those orders. They put me on a train all by myself, and I ended up at Rome, New York. However, when I got there, and the white person in a Jeep that came to pick me up at the station took one look at me. He said, "Oh, there must be some mistake. Let me look at your orders." And so he looked at the orders, and he said, "Just a minute." And he went to the phone and called. I guess he must have called his commanding officer. And he says, "Okay," he says, "I know where we'll take you." And he says, "Get in." And he drove me over to the base at Rome Air Depot and deposit me at not any bomber wing, which was where I was hoping to go, but deposited me in the office of the 100th Aviation Squadron. Now, the Aviation Squadron was another name for an engineering outfit. These were the people who dug the ditches, if you were black, chopped down the trees, and did all the heavy-duty labor. And so that's where I ended up at when I was initially transferred into that into the Air Corps at Rome. It wasn't, but soon afterwards, as I guess the 367th and the 332nd were getting ready to go overseas, they asked for volunteers who had a high enough IQ to perform some work. They put you in the finance section. They wanted to put. They needed some folks in the finance section, and I volunteered for that. I was glad enough to get away from the digging the ditches and chopping the trees routine, and so I volunteered for the finance section and joined them in Oscoda, Michigan, and that's where I joined the 332nd, the 96th Service Group, and my organization, the 367th Service Group, and we were there less than 2 or 3 months when we began packing up and getting ready to ship overseas. So I shipped overseas. However, when I did ship, I had asked a transfer because the work in the finance section was interesting, but it was very dull and not really my cup of tea. I would prefer to get my hands into the innards of the aircraft, get dirty, so to speak. And I enjoyed all aspects of aircraft. So I'd asked my commanding officer, a major, if he would please allow me to transfer from the finance section to the 367th Service Squadron, which were the people actually involved in doing the aviation repairs. And he was kind enough. He says, "All right, Wilkinson," he says, "we'll let you go, and good luck." And so at that point, I joined the 367th and as an aircraft hydraulic specialist, and shipped overseas, and we proceeded to work on the planes.
All right. Would you give me your full name?
Oh, sure. My name is Edmund L. Wilkinson.
And you actually felt like sitting, I guess, and guess who came for dinner?
Yeah.
And that man came to pick you up.
That's a good analogy.
And you proved something to the whole world, that blacks can fix airplanes, right?
That's right. That's right. Not only did I prove that myself and my fellow airmen proved that, but we did a darn good job of it.
Oh, you're supposed to do a good job.
Well, that's right. That's right. Now, one other aspect just comes to mind. In addition to servicing the planes of the 332nd Fighter Group, we were detached. A small unit of us, less than 50 of us, were sent further north. In fact, we were sent so far north that the Germans were shelling the airport. And we established a series of emergency landing fields. And those emergency landing fields served for those bombers that were coming back when they were having the massive raids on the Ploesti oil fields and into Europe and Berlin. Some of the bombers could not get back in time, and we were right off the Adriatic coast, across from Yugoslavia, and we had about 4 airfields. One was on the beach, and 2 were inland. And the 367th, along with the 1000 Signal Corps, the 1000 Signal Corps did all of the communication between the damaged planes, and they ran the airport. They were the flight controllers, so to speak, and they handled all the communications that way. We had a medical unit which took care of the shot down pilots, whatever their the disposition was, and we manned those 4 fields to the extent that at sometimes we had almost 100 planes in some various states of repair during any one particular period.
I'm going to have you back during Black Heritage Week because I've enjoyed that so much. Are you attending the dinner on Saturday night?
Oh, for sure.
You are?
Oh, for sure.
Well, I'll see you at the dinner.
All right.
Well, thank you so very kindly.
You're quite welcome, Mr. Luper.
Let's get back to you, Gloria.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that you are one of the officers in the Tuskegee.
I am one of the committee members working this gala event. Mr. Howard is one of our vice presidents. And
one of your vice presidents, how many do you have?
We have three.
3 vice presidents and the president?
3 vice presidents and the president.
What do you do as a vice president, Mr. Howard?
I am the second vice president of the chapter, and my job is the policy and procedures, but I also have a wealth of background on the Tuskegee Airmen, and I've been associated with the Tuskegee Airmen before this chapter was formed. So I help in any areas that I possibly can, but officially I am the policy and procedures, the second vice president.
All right, tonight, tell me about the affair for next Saturday night, please.
The affair will be held at the Kirkpatrick Center Ballroom at 2100 Northeast 52nd Street.
Of course.
Of course. And we are expecting and anticipating a number of very distinguished guests to be there with us. The good thing about this effort is that the proceeds from this will go toward our scholarship assistance. Those funds will be used to help disadvantaged and or deserving youth who have desires or who are pursuing degrees in education in aviation and aerospace, which includes a number of degree fields, chemistry, all kinds of engineers, scientists, even business people, and those who have a desire to become attorneys. And of course, you will be among our distinguished guests, along with representatives from the governor's office, along with the governor-elect. And of course, we have the Adjutant General, is that right, Mr. Howard? From the state of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma National Guard, Major General Gary Maynard, who will be
one of my best friends.
Yes, and he has been very instrumental in helping Tuskegee, in helping the chapter, along with Tuskegee Airmen in general, to really get off the ground and working. So we are really kind of excited about this. And of course, we will have one of our very, very special guests, along with you, Mrs. Luper, Miss Black America. We're very excited about her being there. And of course, our MC for the evening will be Miss Uzi Brown Washington, who is the weekend anchor at the News Channel 4. So we're
I understand that you will have an astronaut there.
Well, he's in training. So we have had to make provisions and work around that. He is preparing to
go in space.
Go in space.
Oh, well,
yes.
Good. Good. I've certainly enjoyed talking to you, and I would like once again to go over the affair. Will be held at the Kirkpatrick Center.
Yes.
The tickets are reasonable. They are only $100.
They are only $100 each, and that is very reasonable when you think about what it takes to educate a young